China has of late made inroads into the media landscape of Balkan countries, becoming a potent addition to the chorus of pro-authoritarian voices in the region. While Russia is seen as a disruptor, seeking to exploit existing features on the Balkans, China has the power and resources to control tightly its message in line with the global goals. Beijing has employed a number of strategies in this regard, which are all targeted at cognitive capture, the most difficult form of capture to tackle. For example, China has expanded the cooperation of Xinhua News Agency and China Radio International to the region. It has concluded bilateral agreements for content sharing with leading local outlets. Beijing has additionally sent Chinese journalistic delegations and further organized visits of local journalists to China. Moreover, Beijing has increasingly been able to leverage its media influence across national borders and create sub-regional amplifiers of the dissemination of Chinese messages. Two examples stand out. Radio Ayani, which represents the China Radio International's Albanian service, broadcasts in Albanian and targets all ethnic Albanian populated areas in the Western Balkans. In another example, the Bosnian China Today, Kina Danas news outlet, is popular among China's increasing audiences across the Western Balkans. Over the course of the coronavirus pandemic, China started to aggressively copy Kremlin playbook globally, and in particularly on the Balkans. This has included, among others, the creation of fake social media accounts, investment in and expansions of state broadcasting channels and their international subsidiaries. So, are Russia and China converging on their disinformation activities in Southeast Europe?
The Center for the Study of Democracy's upcoming report, Tackling Kremlin's Media Capture in Southeast Europe, supported by the National Endowment for Democracy, reveals an emerging trend of increasing overlap of influence tactics between the two authoritarian states in the region. This takes place on the basis of two primary instruments. First, Russia's local proxies increasingly act as enablers of China's media influence, promoting complementary propagandist messages. These messages further the official Russian and Chinese viewpoints, extol the cooperation between the two states, hailing them as a viable alternative to Western liberal democracy. A case in point is the China Today news outlet, which is a recent addition to the Bulgarian newspaper market, having the same editorial and ownership structure as that of the Bulgarian weekly newspaper, Rusia Dnes, translating into Russia Today in English. Second, even more overtly, the promotion of joint Russian-Chinese activities is sometimes sanctioned by the highest echelons of power in the region. In Serbia, for example, Chinese disinformation narratives tend to be pushed by pro-government media outlets, which are also engaged in spreading Kremlin-sponsored messages, as is the case with tabloid newspaper Informer. Despite the growing Chinese media presence across the Balkans and convergence with Russia's tactics, there are different levels of Balkan countries' susceptibility to Beijing's capture and disinformation activities.
Serbia has become the stepping stone for China's media operations in Southeast Europe. The two countries maintain intensive bilateral ties, and Serbian leadership is often parroting Chinese messages indiscriminately. It should be highlighted that Serbia has received the most Chinese investment and aid and loans from the Western Balkan states. Serbia is also part of China's digital Silk Road, cooperating with Huawei on 5G and implementing Belgrade's safe city surveillance system, just like back in China.
Croatia has also seen an increase in Chinese initiatives. China has been able to land one of the largest construction contracts with EU funds in Croatia. Beijing's media influence has been particularly promoted through the Chinese Southeast European Business Association, headquartered in Zagreb. The organization promotes Chinese media and business activities in Croatia. It has partnered with, among others, Hansa Media, one of the largest newspaper publishers in the Croatian market, and with cebiz.eu, an economic news website providing coverage of Southeast Europe.
In contrast to Serbia and Croatia, Chinese media influence is scarce in Kosovo. The larger framework of relations underwritten by Chinese opposition to Kosovo's statehood and independence, acts as a core hindrance to the establishment of Chinese presence in the country. So, Russia and increasingly China have made inroads into the Balkans media landscape. But the media capture process has been enabled also by other players, such as Turkey, as well as Hungary, which have both contributed to the concentration of the media market in the region and to its fixation on pro-government support, raising the vulnerability of the region's democratic development. Turkey in particular has established a media footprint mainly in the Muslim-majority Balkan countries. For example, the Turkish Radio and Television Corporation includes programs in Albanian and Bosnian via the TRT Avaz. Moreover, Turkish state-run Anadolu Agency's operation from its Sarajevo office is becoming a regional hub in nature, catering to audiences in the whole West Balkans. Notably, Turkey has also shared digital infrastructure with China.
Hungary has acquired ownership of media outlets in the region, particularly in North Macedonia and Slovenia, promoting Russian propagandist goals and narratives. The media concentration, often linked to powerful political interests in the countries enabled by Hungary, helps further media capture. The balance sheet of authoritarian confluence in Southeast Europe shows that China is an ever more ambitious actor in the Balkans that is for the time being well aligned with Russia's messages and interests. What can be done to stem the negative impact of this authoritarian nexus and its local and European enablers?
Ultimately, the EU should strengthen its commitment to the accession of the Western Balkan countries as a key buffer against Russia's and China's influence in the region. There should be greater coordination between the North Atlantic Treaty Alliance and the European Union with regard to furthering the Euro-Atlantic integration of the Western Balkans. Both the European Union and NATO need to step up their diplomatic engagement in the region, pushing for governance improvements and safeguarding media freedoms across the Western Balkans. The European Union in particular should exercise greater vigilance and monitor the incursion of Russian and Chinese state-owned media into the European information space.